What's happening, everybody? I'm up here in Greenfield, Indiana at the Amazon, unloading my load I picked up in St. Petersburg, Florida. And, for Florida, it was actually a pretty decent load. I don't really like to go to Florida, as I mentioned, but um, they didn't have anything in Texas that I really wanted, so that's what I did. So before we start the video, if you like these videos, hey, give me a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is. Share the video with a friend if they're thinking about getting into trucking, and be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Like I said before, 95% of the people that watch the videos aren't subscribed, so I'd appreciate that. This video is about, is this a good time to get into trucking or not? As I mentioned in the last video, a lot of people is gloom and doom out here right now. And I don't know. I think it was almost not too good, but the inflation on equipment, you couldn't afford to buy it. And people that bought that equipment at those just sky high rates, they're hurting right now because people that got in, say in 2021 when it was like a gold rush, I know what it would be. Somebody's cousin said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe the money I'm making," and it was true. I mean, just for an example, in 2021, I went out to California a lot because that's when all the ships, you saw it on the news, all the ships were sitting out there on the ocean, and you could almost name your rate coming back to a point. But I mean, the loads I was bringing back were paying more than twice as much then as they are now. I won't even go out there now because it's just, unless they really, really paid me a lot to go out there. And that's the same way with Florida. That's how you gotta, as you do this stuff, you get better at it. Don't go into Florida with a mediocre rate. Go in there. It's one of those things where they say you got to take your backhaul with you. So when you go down deep into Florida, you got to be going down there for a lot of money because you're going to be coming out of there cheap. So yeah, I do think it's a good time. I would rather get into it now. I would rather get into it now than when it was white hot, because I've kind of thought about trying out one owner operator to lease onto me if they would be interested in hauling furniture. So let me just say this: I'm still thinking about that. If somebody was interested in being an owner operator, and I would probably be pretty picky about who I would take, and but if somebody was interested in that, my email's in the video description. I've kicked around the idea of it. So if you are interested, comment or leave me an email, and maybe we can make something happen. I mean, I've got all the work in the world if you want to haul office furniture, which a lot of people don't. So, I'm kind of rambling here. But yeah, I do think it'd be a good time. I almost would rather go totally independent if I was going to do it than lease on to somebody. Or if I was going to lease on to somebody, make sure it's somebody like a Landstar or somebody like that. I'm not a fly-by-night company that just started out the last couple of years. Because you see a lot of this. Brokers are laying off a lot. There was more brokers came into the industry than I'd ever seen. I mean, a lot of new brokers. Sorry, I got some air or something. But yeah, if I was going to lease on, or if I was going to get my own authority right now, what I would do is sit down, figure up all my cost, figure up what I thought my income would be, and on that, put the high end on your expenses and put the low end on your income, where don't try to sugarcoat it and make it look better than you think it will be. Try to make it the worst case scenario and then figure out, is this going to be worth me doing this? Just for instance, usually I'm in that 75 cents to 85 cents range to operate my truck. But, I've been doing this a long time now, and so not everybody's going to be like that. When fuel was $5 a gallon, a lot of people if you had a truck getting, say, 5 miles a gallon, and fuel was $5 a gallon, you were up around that dollar range for fuel cost. when I was probably 55 cents, and maybe 52, 53 cents, something like that. So a lot of people maybe had an operating cost of $1.50. And these times right now is when you really got to get your expenses low and make it through this until the good times come back. Because that's what it is. Trucking's just highs and lows. It'll be great for a while, and that's when, the good operators will save money, pay things off, and know that bad times are going to come back around the corner, and you'll have enough money to ride through that and wait till you get back in the good times. Now, the guys that just got in it, say in 21, thought it was going to be like that forever. Some of that stuff they paid double what a truck and trailer were worth, and you couldn't even buy them. That's what I was afraid. If you lost a trailer or something, I don't even know what you'd do. Even if you couldn't buy another one, you couldn't buy a truck, and it was just sky high. And I was like, this is crazy. This cannot stay the way it is, and it hasn't. So now equipment's everywhere. It's dropping like a rock. That's what I've been looking at equipment. I'm definitely going to replace this truck this year, probably in September. That was the plan. I wanted to buy a 4 or 5 year old truck, run it for 5 years, and then just replace it with another 4 or 5 year old truck, run it for 5 years. That's kind of what I want to do. Keep fairly new equipment. This truck's 10 years old now. It's a 14, but it was built in 13, so it's been on the road for 10 years. And but yeah, you can make money out here right now. You just got to really watch your expenses, and just really watch that stuff. And if you can make it now, then when things do turn around, you'll be doing great. That's the way I do my stuff. Even when stuff was really, really good in 2021, there was lots of times where, I still cared about my fuel mileage. That's when I was taking lots of trips all the way back from California at, say, 57 miles an hour, because my appointments were open-ended stuff. It was drop trailer stuff, and I didn't care about that. That's one thing. That was another thing that they paid so good, is you had to drop your trailer and leave it there for 3 days. But see, I had already been out for 2 weeks, so I didn't care. I dropped my trailer, left it there for 3 days, and then went and picked it up again. And because I wasn't going to be working anyway, I was just sitting at home and stuff like that. But yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I don't care how good it is. I basically do the same thing all the time, whether it's good or bad. And then when things aren't so good, you're doing okay. But when things are great, you're killing it. You're doing great. And you can't just jump in and out of it. I think that's where you see a lot of people do, because if you got into it a bad time, got your equipment cheap, scratch and claw through it, you're already in there. You don't have to. You're right there when the boom starts. You're not having to get authority. You're not having to buy equipment. You'll just coast right into it and do great. And so yeah, you just gotta. Everybody's situation's different. What your home expenses. Kind of who I'm talking to with these videos are guys that are just starting out, guys that have young families. As I mentioned, everybody's situation's different. If you're 60, 65-year-old guy, your kids are grown up, you don't have very many expenses at all. Yeah, you can afford to drive a big Peterbilt. You can drive it as fast as you want. But when you're young, when you have a family at home, you're trying to, just get ahead in life. These are the people I'm talking to. So I'm sure, as I mentioned, the analytics, that's most of the people that watch this are people about my age. And that's who I'm trying to help, because I don't know if I ever brought that up before, but, and there's so many more resources for information now than whenever whenever I was probably, 19 or 20 years old, thinking about buying my own truck. I'd ask guys I work for, and it's not hard once you get going, but there's so many little things that you don't know about. As I was talking about, fuel tax and things like that. It's just stuff you learn over the years. And I'd ask these guys, I'd really like to buy my own truck, and talk to them and try to pick their brain because they're already doing it. And all they would ever tell me is there's no money in it, and it's nothing but a bunch of headache, and that's all they'd ever get from them. And they wouldn't tell me anything. So I always said to myself, if I finally got where I wanted to be, then if somebody younger than me, or not even younger than me, just never didn't know anything about it, I would help them all I could. So that's kind of one reason I'm making these videos, and it's something to kill time too. I'm just sitting here doing nothing. So anyway, well, I appreciate it, and we're gonna hopefully get unloaded here soon and head home. Thanks for watching.